In this age of unbelief, we must address and arrest a certain question. There's a question that all of us must bring to rest in our lives. And this question is, do we love God? The question is, what does it mean to love God? Well, for us to understand what it means to love God, we must bring it down to our level and discover, what does it mean to love one another? Well, in the context of the home, between a man and his wife, the question is, what does it mean for a man to love his wife? What does it mean for a child to love the parents, or for a parent to love the child? What does it mean for brothers to love one another, or for sisters to love each other? What does it mean to love one another? Well, we may have different and various definitions of what it means to love. But all our various and different definitions of love will ultimately converge in the idea that love will ultimately lead to certain actions which will give evidence to this love. So there are certain actions that are brought in the spotlight when we talk about love. When the husband claims to love the wife, that love must be escorted, accompanied by certain actions. And those actions will support and give evidence to the love that is being communicated. So what does it mean to love God? Well, the Bible does not leave it to the discretion of humanity. In the book of John chapter 14, verse number 15, Jesus makes a profound statement. If you love me, keep my commandments. Now that is very insightful, beloved. And it simply suggests, concludes, and states that commandment keeping is the evidence of our love for God. It simply tells us that commandment keeping is not an attempt to arrive at salvation through human works. It is actually a window that reveals our appreciation of God's love. So when we obey the law of God, we are not seeking to be saved by our obedience. We are revealing our love for God that has been made possible by God's grace in our lives. So there cannot be love without certain actions. And in the context of our relationship with God, we cannot claim to love God if we do not keep His commandments. And in this environment of unbelief, in this age of godless disobedience, many voices are heard from pulpits and cathedrals and places of worship. People, prophets and apostles are claiming that the law of God is no longer valid. Well, Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. And so when we nullify the need of obedience to the law of God, then we close we close the window to the evidence of our love for God. Do you love God today? Jesus makes it clear. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. Are you conforming your life to the commandments of God today? Our failure to obey the principles of the law is a signal that indicates that we have not come to a level of loving God. When we love God, we submit ourselves and subject our lives to the principles of His kingdom, and they are revealed in the law of God. The 10 Commandments, the moral law of God, is a pattern of our love for Him. It is the revealing of God's will, and by living in conformity to this law, we are not seeking to be saved, but we are revealing how God has saved us, and we just want to thank you, Jesus. And so, do you love Jesus today? Is your life in conformity to the principles of the law of God? Exodus chapter 20 verse 1 to 17 portrays and outlines the law of God. Take time to read. Take time to know the law by your mind, and then seek by the grace of God to assimilate those principles in your life, and your life will become a revealing of your love for God. Jesus said, if you love me, do you love God today? Keep my commandments.